There are certain people out there who have heard the same thing you're going to tell them. But until they hear you say it in your voice, in the way that you explain it, it's never going to make sense to them. So you're depriving people out in the world of having their problems solved if you don't have the courage to get out there and share your take on what may have already been talked about out there. The internet is packed with content about programming now, but is it just noise? Videos, podcasts, and blogs could be just what your career needs, but it could also be a complete waste of time to make them. I see a lot of people in tech online posting their thoughts and ideas, but a lot of times they're just doing it because they're following the crowd. So if you've ever considered, is it worth your time to create videos on YouTube or other platforms? Maybe start podcasting, maybe make some blog articles. I want to make this episode today to teach you what I've learned about when is the right time to do it and when is it completely a waste of your time and not going to get you any results. So there's really two purposes of making online content. The first of these is just for social status and influence. And honestly, I see a lot of people online that make content this way. For example, if you want to make money, if your business model sort of is to get people to sponsor your videos, you'll see I don't have any sponsored videos. I don't have any problem with that, but usually the way to get sponsored videos or get sponsored Instagram posts or sponsored LinkedIn articles is to have a huge following. And if you want a really huge following, unfortunately, you're going to have to create a lot of sensationalist content. You'll see on YouTube in particular, a lot of hot takes about programming that are really just meant to stir up engagement. They're meant to kind of play on your emotions. And while this is fun, hey, I watch some of it too. It really is a very hard job because you have to constantly be trying to one-up yourself when you make a video, a podcast, a blog post. And really, it's just a numbers game. You try to get as many followers as possible. And there's a lot of people who have started on YouTube or on Spotify or on really any platform that have taken this approach to using content and they burn out. You know, you've probably seen over the last year a lot of YouTubers quitting. Well, I don't really consider myself a YouTuber per se, even though I'm on YouTube. I'm going to talk about that in a moment, but it's just important to know if you see somebody online creating content, you're trying to decide, should I be creating it too? The first thing you need to ask yourself is, why are you doing it? And if the purpose is just to amass a huge following, get sponsored placement in your content, maybe get pay per view of your content. Now, you probably know YouTube doesn't pay very much at all for views anymore. I mean, even if you get 1 million views on a video, I think it's less than $1,000 today that YouTube actually pays you. But I'm going to talk next about a better way to make money with content. The second reason you might create content online if you're in tech or you're a programmer is to demonstrate your competence with something. This is called content marketing. You've probably heard this term before. And the purpose of doing this is not to grow a huge audience. Now, you still want people to consume your content. For example, I make videos that some of them get 8,000 to 10,000 views. Some of them get 100,000 views. I think my biggest video is at like 1.2 million at this point, but that's kind of a fluke for me for this channel. But what's different about content marketing is the purpose is not to get people to put sponsored ads in your content, to sell things, other people's products through your content. The purpose instead is to actually add value to the person watching it. These are the videos I make. You're trying to help the person watching your video, listening to your podcast, reading your blog with a problem they have. And you're hoping that if you help them enough with that problem, they will trust you enough that they know this person knows enough. I could possibly pay them either for, their services, their products, their courses, where they might even get me even more help with the problem that I have. So if you're considering, escaping the corporate grind, I talk about that a lot as programmers, where we're dealing with these really difficult jobs. The longer we are in our career, we kind of get sick of it and we want to get out and escape. If you're thinking of starting your own company, or, starting an online business, or selling courses or coaching, or maybe starting, to be a consultant or creating a consulting agency, any of these things, the way that you get customers or prospects or clients is often the best way to do it today through content marketing. So I explain these two things to you right off the bat, because if somebody has told you at some point, hey, you should blog, it'll help you get a job, it can, but I see a lot of people just roughshod throwing up a solution to this programming problem and what they think about this platform. And I'm going to talk in a moment about why creating content to get a job is not a bad thing, but you have to be actually very focused about it if you really want to do it. So how can content marketing actually help you with your tech career? The first way is what I just said. It can help you potentially get a better job. Now, the way that you have to do this is you want to create videos, articles, blog posts, or podcasts that actually show how to solve a real problem in the technology, the process, the space, whatever it is of the job that you want to get. So for example, if you want to get a job using Elixir or using, React or using DevOps, creating posts about all kinds of technologies and process that aren't related to that thing you're looking for a job for doesn't actually help you. I think a lot of people think showing versatility online, if they're trying to use it to get a job through content marketing, is actually going to help them, but it actually just creates a lot of noise. And so if you want to get a job, let's say again, in DevOps or something like that, you want to only create videos or, podcasts, blog posts that are about DevOps and even more specifically, probably specific practices in DevOps or specific technologies in DevOps. Similar to that, if you want to get a product management job, you want to write articles, you want to make videos, you want to record podcasts specific to product management. But another way that using content marketing can really help you in your career, and that's really the focus of this episode that I'm making for you today, is to help you sell products and services and potentially break free of working for companies. Just like I said earlier, the way you're doing this is you're solving a real problem that your potential customer has. When I make these YouTube videos, I'm not making them to get thousands or millions of views. Sure, I want people to find these, but what I really want them to do is actually help you with a real problem. If you get to the end of this episode today and you don't feel like you've learned something that's helped you about whether you should use content marketing or not, or what it is, or maybe some tips on whether it's the right time for you, I look at it like I've failed. My whole purpose of making this episode today is that you finish watching the episode, you are informed, and you maybe take an action. Maybe you start a YouTube channel. Maybe you start a podcast. Maybe you stop your podcast. Maybe you stop your YouTube channel because you realize the reason you were doing it isn't really a good reason, depending on the results that you want. But if you want to start a business, if you want to be a coach, like my coaching, for example, I have to make content that helps people with typical problems that we run into in our career and help them enough, things that are somewhat universal on here, right? That I can talk to you and other people who watch these, that most people are going to be helped through that. But, some people have problems that are very specific. When I coach people, it's not teaching them, stuff that's in a YouTube video. I'm learning what's your specific problems in your life and in maybe your marriage and in your career and in, your relationships with the people at work, to get a lot of context to help them with a very specific problem. And obviously I can't easily do that through content, but the content can at least help them some with the problems they're dealing with, and hopefully build enough confidence that they'll be willing to reach out and maybe do business with me or you. So let's talk about some of the big myths of content marketing. Because when I went to do this years ago, I fell into a lot of these. The first big myth to content marketing, if you're thinking of doing it, is that you have to have something original to say. When I started my YouTube channel 6 years ago, I remember I was asking my cousin and a few other people, why should I make a YouTube channel? Why should I go out there and talk about Agile and all these different things that I talk about when there's speakers talking about it? There's already blogs, there's already YouTube videos. And I remember I read something or heard something at one point, and this was again 6 years ago, but you may have heard this yourself too, that was basically to the effect of, Jamie, there are certain people out there who have heard the same thing you're going to tell them, but until they hear you say it in your voice, in the way that you explain it, it's never going to make sense to them. So you're depriving people out in the world of having their problems solved if you don't have the courage to get out there and share your take on what may have already been talked about out there. And that really encouraged me because, a lot of these YouTube videos that I make, they're not completely new information. In fact, a lot of it's common sense. A lot of it's, failures I've made in my career and things I've learned. And I really do hope they help you. But, if you search enough places, you go enough spots online, you've probably heard a lot of the stuff that I tell you. But the way that I package it, my unique voice, not just like the timbre of my voice, but how I speak, how I communicate my ideas, why I think that these things are important, how they explain them. I've learned there's certain people that really like the way I explain stuff that other people may like a better way that somebody else explains the exact same thing. So I just want to encourage you, that is a myth. If you're thinking, should I create content? I don't know, because I got to come up with this super unique way to say it. Hey, just you being a different person than everybody else out on the internet, it's inevitable. Unless you're completely, reading from a PowerPoint presentation and it's bullet points or something and you ripped it completely off from somebody else, or you did it 100% with AI. If it's your insights and your thoughts, people are going to find value in it. It's going to be worth you doing that content. The second myth to content marketing is that you have to post everywhere. I got to be on TikTok. I got to be on LinkedIn. I have to have a YouTube video. I have to have a podcast. I have to be on Instagram. I have to be everywhere. I tried this the first couple years that I was doing this, and it was so aggravating because I spent so much time trying to get my name out there, but I was spread so thin that even though I was on all these platforms, the algorithms on all the platforms hadn't picked me up on any of them. And so it really just multiplied my frustration with creating content. So, once I decided to just double down on, look, I'm going to make YouTube videos and that's it. I'll maybe talk to people on Twitter occasionally. And I've always been on LinkedIn, and occasionally I'll post stuff on there that's just related to the same topic as my videos. But LinkedIn's just not a focus area for me. But I really doubled down and just said, I'm going to commit to YouTube. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while or listening to it as a podcast, I've taken breaks a couple times because of personal issues I've had, but you don't have to post everywhere. So if you're thinking of making content, I hope that takes a little pressure off. The third myth of content marketing is that you got to post all the time. If you've heard of Gary V or Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very popular. He was even more popular maybe 5 or 6 years ago. He's well known for encouraging people to just post constantly on every platform as much as you possibly can. And hey, if you've got no full-time job, or you just love making content so much and you don't mind videoing or, recording every single aspect of your life and putting it out there on the internet for people to see, have at it. But if you're watching, me today, most of what I've shared with you so far is to help you if you already have a job, you're already busy, you're trying to do, a little side gig or at least build a reputation for yourself that may lead to quitting your job or starting a business or doing something like that. And if you're going to do that, really quality outweighs quantity. I actually had a period the second year I was making YouTube videos where I made a video every day for 2 months. And it burned me out so hard. And I look back on those videos and really only about 3 of them were really watched much, got much engagement, and I felt really pretty proud of. The rest of them were all filler. They just felt like stuff I created to put things out there because I had to make an episode that day. Where now, I'm not saying every one of my episodes is perfect. I try to cater to a lot of needs that you have, but I try to put a decent amount of quality into my episodes now, and I only put them out once a week on Mondays. So if you're thinking of starting a podcast, if you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, you're going to go on Rumble, just, anywhere, I would just recommend don't put the pressure on yourself that you feel you have to constantly hit the algorithm and constantly get information out there. If you can even commit to once a week, that's all you got to do. Now, the most important thing, though, about this is consistency. And I've had a challenge my entire life and my entire time here on YouTube with you with consistency. I've had a lot of personal problems. I've had a lot of sleep and energy and health problems. That's why, the channel is called Healthy Software Developer. It's really things I've learned by not being healthy about my career and then becoming more healthy, and that I'm trying to help you with. But if people are watching your channel or they're, reading your blog posts or they're listening to your podcast and you just put stuff out at odd times whenever you feel like it, sure, there are some people that are successful with that. Rick Beato is an example. If you know his YouTube channel, he puts stuff out whenever he feels like it and people still watch it. And you can do that when you've got 1 million+ subscribers. But if you're just trying to get off the ground, you want to have a consistent time, a consistent day every week that you put your content out. And you got to make a personal commitment to yourself. I'm not going to just do this once or twice, and if I don't get a ton of views, quit. Because let me tell you flat out, you probably are going to get completely ignored for the first, 30 to 50 pieces of content that you make. You might get lucky, but you have to trust yourself that the message you have, the thing you want to say, what you're trying to help people with is valuable, and you got to invest in that consistency of continuing to make content. The fourth myth to creating content is that you should create a huge variety of topics to just demonstrate how knowledgeable you are. There's a little truth to that, but there's some subtlety to it. Here's a perfect example. This channel. When I started out, I had just recently lost my job as a consultant when I started on YouTube. And when I was a consultant, I was mostly helping product managers with problems they had. I was helping them with lean software development. I was helping them work better with engineers. I was also helping architects and directors and CTOs with Agile and with continuous delivery and, all this different stuff that was related to basically process in addition to architecture and things like that. And so when I came on YouTube, even though I was really frustrated with my career, I'd recently had to quit. I had all these health problems. I was still sort of in that consultant mindset where I felt like I needed to talk all the time about the things that I knew, I had to do in my day job. But on YouTube, or on a podcast or on blog posts, you actually want to pick a very narrow niche and know exactly the problem that you're trying to help the viewer solve, and then only create content related to that. Now, there could be a lot of different types of content related to that, but let me explain why, if you don't do this, it's a problem. And I'm honestly feeling some of the pain of that in the channel right now. If my only thing that I was helping people with, let's say, was doing, DevOps or something like that, every single one of my videos could be about, the personnel changes of DevOps, the process aspects of DevOps, technology related to DevOps, specific tools. I could show specific tools. I could give examples. And anybody that wanted to learn things about DevOps, they'd get a ton of value out of my channel. And if you were interested in architecture or some other things, you might find some value in my channel, but you're probably not going to subscribe The other thing is if I try to sell a product, if I sell a DevOps related product, now every single viewer of my channel or every single listener of your podcast or every single, reader of your blog is a potential customer because they're all coming to you for the problem of doing DevOps better. The problem I have, and this is my own fault, and I'm being honest with you, I've talked about this in some posts on the community tab, is I've talked about how to progress in your career, get promotions, make more money. But I've also talked about having better personal, physical health and mental health and dealing with stress, on the job. And I've also talked about working for yourself. And I've also talked about like the emptiness of work when you don't have any real meaning behind it. Those are all related to healthy software development in a way, but man, it's a pretty broad area. So when I want to create a course or when I want to coach people or I want to sell a product, if I target one of those groups of those 4 people, like I just create a product to help people progress in their career, well, now 3/4 of my audience potentially doesn't even care. So it increases the cost of my marketing and a lot of things. Again, I don't want to go too nuts with this because you may not be trying to start your own business. But if you are, I just want to encourage you. And really, if you're trying to get a job, pick as narrow of a focus as possible when you create your content. And the 5th myth of content marketing that I hear all the time that frustrated me, and it might frustrate you, and I hope this helps you a little bit, is that you need to post your content in all mediums available. So first, the thing I think you want to do when I'm explaining this to you is think about you as a person. Where would you be most comfortable in the way that you deliver your content? Some people are okay being on video. They don't mind. Some people hate the thought of being on video. I'm uncomfortable with it sometimes. I'm going to be 48 this year. YouTube's honestly a pretty young audience, but I've gotten over that. I've gotten comfortable with it to the point that I can. I love, how many people's lives and careers I've impacted through it. But if I were to start over, maybe I would have chosen something else. If you are okay talking into a microphone, but you don't want to be on camera, then a podcast, I would suggest do that. If you're uncomfortable with both of those ways of communicating information, of course, write blog posts, write articles. Now, here's the thing to think about, though. If you make videos, you can convert those videos into audio versions and post them as podcasts. So you kind of get a video and a podcast sort of for free for each piece of content you make. You can also convert then your audio version to written transcripts that you can post on, let's say, an article or on your website. There's a lot of transcribing software that'll do that for you. So in a way, video is a multiplier. Now, you still got to do the work to create the corresponding versions. But, I have these episodes that you may be listening to already if you're on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts. They're on, 20, 30 different podcast platforms I'm on Libsyn. So, it syndicates my audio everywhere, all these different podcast platforms. But I don't have to create a separate podcast and a separate video. Now, I'm sure people might like that. And, typically podcasts have a little bit different format than a video, but I try to create my videos so whether you're watching them or you're listening to them, you can get some good value. But, if you only create a podcast, you can also have the written version too. But I just want to encourage you, think first about where you're going to be most comfortable, because, if you really want to be successful with content online, the thing I've learned is just, you got to be into it for the long haul. A lot of people, it takes, 2 to 3 years before they start to see really any kind of momentum, unless you're super sensationalist. Again, if you're super sensationalist, that may grow your numbers, but you're not actually having an impact on people's lives and careers as much. And then selling them products and solutions is going to be harder if that's your goal. And that's mostly what I'm trying to help you with this episode. So how does content marketing move beyond just helping people with stuff, sharing a message, putting content out there, to actually building a business, helping you make money off of either coaching, consulting, selling courses, selling software products you build, selling some sort of services to people? Well, the first thing you need to do is give something free away. You've seen me do this. I have a free career guide that's meant to help you with your career in the tech industry. If you're trying to decide, should I start working for myself? Should I double down on new skills? Should I maybe switch into a different, specialization and things like that? There's all these different questions that people run into in all the years that I've coached them. And I created a free PDF. Now this took me many hours to create it the first time. It's in its, I think, third revision in the 6 years I've offered this. But you create a nice free piece of content that has to not just be a throwaway and it's a complete waste of time. Now, mine is about 11 pages long. So, any longer than that, probably nobody's going to read it, but it's got to be meaty enough that people read it and it at least gives them some insight. Now, again, you don't have to solve every problem that they have, but you just have to make that freebie worth their time to give you their email address. So you really want to put that freebie, and again, this could be something different than a PDF. Sometimes people will give checklists away, they'll give coupons, they'll give all kinds of stuff, but it's basically called an ethical bribe, or a lead magnet is the term you've heard. You're giving the person something free in exchange for they're getting on your email list. Now they can unsubscribe right away. I would say probably a third of the people that get my career guide, they get the guide, they download it, they go, cool, I got it, unsubscribe, and they immediately get off my list, which is cool. That's fine. If that's all they want is the guide, that's fine. Now they don't know, unfortunately, that if they stay on it every few days, I'm going to send them more emails with more stuff to teach them and more stuff to help them out. And I will eventually even offer them some products that they don't even know that I have, because I don't list these publicly all on my website. Some of them, the only way you get to them is through my email list. So if you give someone away something for free, you can get them their email address. You can get them in some email marketing automation software. I'm going to be talking more about that this year later, but this is mostly about the content marketing piece. And that is the way that you eventually get them to an offer and a sale, or, you get them to call you about potential coaching or consulting, and you can actually make money off that. The second way that you can make money off of this content marketing, it's not just you're creating content free forever, but you're actually going to profit from it, is to at least have a contact form on your website, or some way to contact you from each video you make, podcast episode that you publish, or article that you write. This is the easiest way to get people to start coming to you. Before I had email marketing about 6 years ago, I just had a contact form on my website. And sometimes people would watch my videos and they go, hey, I really like this video. And they'd search online on Google, they'd search my name, Jamie Edwards, or they'd search for healthy software developer, and they'd read my website. And I only had a few pages, and they go, oh, this guy sounds pretty cool. And then they'd go to my contact page and be like, I should really talk to him, see if he can maybe help me. Because I at least said that I did career coaching, but I didn't really have ways to sign up and all that. I just literally had a contact form. But, if you're looking for a super low bar way to get people in touch with you, to drive some actual business, to at least get them on a Zoom call with you, where it's not you're spamming people. I see this all the time now. I hate this when people DM me on LinkedIn and say, hey, Jamie, love what you're doing. Let's hop on a Zoom call. Let me know when you're available. I'm like, no, I don't just hop on Zoom calls randomly for no reason. That really bothers me and disrupts me. But, if they go to my website and they post in my contact form and they say, hey, Jamie, love your YouTube channel. I really liked the episode that you did about X. I have a business and I offer this, and I think that it would be really useful to your customers. Let's talk about potentially how that might work. Would you be comfortable with that? Then I might get back to them. Again, if I think that there's synergy. People a lot of times say, hey, I watch your channel and it's really great. This would really help your audience. And I'm like, stockbrokering software? How's that going to help people with healthy software development? Okay. And you could argue, yeah, well, if you make money in the stock market, it's going to help you escape the corporate grind. But my point is, I get offers to do collaborations with people on the craziest crap, that you could possibly expect. But that's not the purpose of the contact form. The purpose of the contact form is the cheapest, easiest, fastest way that you can drive people. You give them a link in your YouTube video or your podcast or your article on LinkedIn or your website to a contact form. Hey, if you listen to the, for example, hey, if you listen to my podcast today and this really helped you out, why don't you visit me at, www.whateveryourwebsite.com/contact and fill out my form, post your email address. Let me know what you're dealing with. Maybe I can help you out. It could be as simple as that. You don't have to buy any marketing software for email marketing or anything. Now you got to answer the emails. You got to figure out how to, coordinate your timing. And there's obviously Calendly and software like that for that now. But if you want to make some money from your content marketing, that's the easiest way to do it. And the third way that you can make real money through your content marketing, not just trying to grow a huge audience, but actually trying to help people with real problems, is getting referrals through shares of your content. If you make a video or a podcast or a blog post that really helps people with a problem they have, they will share it with other people that have the same problem. And it's one thing if you make a video or you make an article and you say, hey, I do this and I can help you. Talk to me if you want help. That's one thing. It's different if somebody other than you, who doesn't even know you, says, hey, check out this episode from this guy or girl. He helped me with this problem. Then it's social proof. You've heard of this term. It's somebody else vouching for you that the content was valuable. And that's what you want. I will tell you, the hardest sell that I have when, and I'm not a hard sell. I don't push people. I'm like, if you want to do coaching, cool. If not, don't worry about it. I'm overbooked at this point. But when people, book a free consultation with me for career coaching, for example, if they just Googled me, they've never watched my YouTube video, a lot of times I'll get them to work with me if I can help them, if what they're looking for help with is something I can truly help with. But, they don't have any existing relationship with me. They don't really know a lot about me. They've read my website. That's kind of it. If somebody's binge watched my YouTube channel and they get on a Zoom call with me, it's kind of creepy. They feel like they know me. They say all this stuff about, oh, in this episode, you said this and you said that. And I'm kind of like, whoa, but it's cool. They're sort of pre-warmed up to me. Now, if instead someone comes to me and they're like, hey, I talked to, John Doe and he hired you as a career coach a year ago and you really helped him out and he recommended you. I'm having some trouble. That's the absolute best way to get business. So think of when people reshare the content that you create and they take something you already made and they share it with their friend. That's like a referral. That's basically built-in social confidence in the other person in the content that you created. And it will really help you, grow your influence and potentially get them on a Zoom call or get them to download your lead magnet or do business with you of some sort. So are you thinking about creating content? Are you doing it already? What are you facing? Do you want to stop creating content now that you've listened to this video? Hey, and if you haven't heard of it already, I've got a Patreon now. There's a link in the description. If you want to talk more with me than just on the YouTube channel and talk to other healthy software developers, some of these people are my actual career coaching clients. Some of them have bought my courses. Some of them are the earliest members of the Patreon. But I've got a Discord server on there you can join. You can talk to me. You can talk to the other people. I'm on there pretty much every day. So if that's interesting to you, check it out. Until next time, thanks.